Welcome to the Black Sparrow Media Internet Broadcast Network.
You are listening to Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a podcast about Linux, open source, and amateur radio for everyone. Now here are your hosts, Russ, K5TUX, Cheryl, W5MOO, and Bill, NE4RD.
Well, hello and welcome everybody. You have tuned in to episode number 300 of Linux in the Ham Shack, the most terrific amateur radio podcast on the internet. We have hit the milestone episode number 300, and it's going to be a good one because it's a weekender where we're just going to talk about upcoming things to do, fun to have, hedonism, wine, women, song, and whatever else we want to talk about. That's the best way to have an episode number 300. We got folks in the chat room. We'll talk to them later probably, or at least mention that they're here listening to us ramble on about stuff. But in the meantime, we should probably introduce ourselves. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
All right, so as we do when we're talking about our weekender episodes, we start off in the world of amateur radio when we talk about upcoming contests and special events that are coming up in the amateur radio world over the next week or two. So we can outline some things that might be fun for you to do and try out using your rig and maybe spend a little time communicating with folks. So we'll start off with some contests and we'll let Bill tell us what's coming up.
Yeah, CQ contest. We got this weekend, we got the All Asian DX contest. It operates from 0000 Zulu, September 7th to 2400 Zulu, September 8th. The only mode is phone, so good old single sideband, use your microphone, have fun. The bands were 80 through 10, no work. The exchange is a signal strength, your good old 5.9, and your 2-digit age. So you can work stations once per band, QSO points. Let's see. Wow, I just really pasted stuff in here. Asian stations, DXCC entries are once per band as well. Non-Asian stations, Asian prefixes are also once per band.
Asian prefecture.
Yeah.
Prefecture.
So yeah, check that contest out if you want to swing your beam over that direction. You can work some Asian stations, hopefully working this contest. If you want to swing the other way, or I guess for me it'd be straight north over the poles, you would want to work the Russian RTTY Worldwide Contest. And that one runs on September 7th from 0 Zulu all the way up to 2359 Zulu. And of course the mode is RTTY, not FT8, not FT4, or any of the FT modes. It is RTTY, real RTTY, the real honest to goodness RTTY.
That's what the R stands for. It's real teletype.
Yeah, real. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, the bands are 80 through 10 as well, no work, and it's also an RST, so you're going to send your 599 plus your 2-letter oblast, whatever that is. Non-RU stations will just do an RST and your CQ zone. So you'll need to make sure you have your proper CQ zone plugged into your contest logger. So Asian stations, I think I copied the Asian one in here again. Oh, I'm so bad. Anyway, so
well, it's okay. If you have an oblast, I think you need radiation.
Yeah, exactly. Oblast! Anyway, so yeah, check the notes over on qrz.ru, for this contest if you're interested. Next weekend, we have the Worked All Europe DX contest. And that's the single sideband variety, and it's operating 0 Zulu on September 14th through 2359 Zulu, September 15th. The bands are 80 through 10, no work, and it also is an RS, a signal strength and serial number exchange, a real simple exchange. And you can work stations once per band. And those notes are over on their site. And then we also have the FOC, the First Class CW Operators Club QSO party. And that's running on September 14th from 0 Zulu all the way to 2359 Zulu. And the mode there, of course, is CW. It's 160 through 10 plus VHF, and I'm not sure like how high that goes. I'm assuming at least 6 meters, but it just said VHF, so maybe you can do 2 meters too. But check that out. If you're an FOC member, your RST plus name plus member number is your exchange. Otherwise, you're an RST plus name for non-members, and you can work stations once per band.
All right, very cool. So, do you want to do special events?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Sure.
Bill's been talking. You can do special events. I'll jump in here on this first one, and then I'll let you do the other ones.
Okay.
So the first one is Route 66 on the air. This is actually quite a long event. I think it goes from like September 7th to September 20th or 15th or something like that.
It's like 2 weeks. So
yeah. So anyway, Route 66 on the air is a bunch of stuff going on all at the same time. But there's a particular station we want to mention, and that is the special event called Whiskey 6 Radio, W6R. And they're going to be operating from September 7th, 1500 Zulu to 2359 Zulu. It's actually going to be later than that. I just didn't want to mess with the dates. And also September 8th, 1500 Zulu to some time after 2359 Zulu.
I believe it's 9 p.m.
9 p.m., right, which I just didn't want to do the conversion because I'm lazy.
Right.
But anyway, it's starting at 10 a.m. Central Time and going till about 9 p.m. Central Time, so you figure out the Zulu on your own. Anyway, this is the Southwest Missouri Amateur Radio Club operating Whiskey 6 Radio from Gay Parita, which is a site on Route 66 here in Missouri. And I believe they're going to be operating CW and single sideband. I'm not sure what their core frequencies are going to be. They haven't specified that I'm aware of. And the reason we wanted to mention this particular Route 66 on the air station is because Cheryl and I will be operating W6R for some of the time on Sunday, probably starting, I'm guessing, around 2 p.m. Central Time. So that would be about 14, so 1900 Zulu, on Sunday. So Cheryl and I will be operating, some single sideband out of W6R. So if you want to get, Route 66 on the air special event QSL card, and maybe you can contact us. So you should give that one a try. If we have any more additional details, we'll make sure to include them in the show notes, but we hope to catch you on the air on Sunday, September 8th, around 1900 Zulu, from Whiskey 6 Radio. And I'll let Cheryl go ahead and take the next two special events we've got lined up here.
Okay. The next one is the William Becknell Heritage Days, founder of the Santa Fe Trail. It runs from 1400 Zulu to 2200 Zulu on September 7th and 1400 Zulu to 2200 Zulu on September 8th. The call sign is WBSFT. Is that a B or an 8?
I think it's supposed to be WB. Let me look it up.
0. WB0.
WB0, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we're missing a number there somewhere.
WB0 SFT. There you go.
Thank you. Frequencies is 1.830, 3.865, 7.265, 14.265, and 21.365. Modes are CW, FT8, and SSB. Certificate. I guess you get a certificate for participating.
You can get a certificate,
yeah, okay.
Yes.
So it says, see website for information on receiving certificate. See website for information, certificate, and QSL available via website after the event. And you can check all that out at wb0sft.org. And the next one is the National POW MIA Recognition Day, which is September 13th through September 22nd. 0000 Zulu to 2359 Zulu. The call sign is K4MIA. Frequencies is 8.150, 14.265, and 7.180.
I'm not sure that 8.150 is correct. This was cut and pasted, so
maybe it's a typo.
It might be 18.150.
That would make 17 meters.
Yeah, it's 17 meters, 20 meters, and 40 meters. So
okay. So modes SSB and question mark. Not sure what
because there was no information about what modes they'll be operating. It says satellites, digital, stuff like that. So it's probably all over the place.
I gotcha. So and
they're on every band, every mode, everywhere.
Every band, every frequency, every mode.
The information
Sunday. Yeah.
the information for this is it observes the National POW MIA Recognition Day that's held across the country on the third Friday of September each year. This year it will be on September 20th. This will be the 11th year for this special event station that has been activated. The day was established to honor the prisoners of war, and those are still missing in action. There will be sister stations K4MIA /5, K4MIA/7, and K4MIA/8 in operation some days. Also, contacts will be made on the LEO satellites and digital modes. See QRZ for a copy of this year's QSL and for additional information. Because of the volume of requests, you must send a self-addressed stamped envelope to get a returned QSL. Please take time to remember our POWs and MIAs as well as their families. And this information came from qrz.com/db/K4MIA.
All right, very cool. And as previously said, we will be operating, Cheryl and I, K5TUX and W5MOO from the Gay Parita site on Route 66 on Sunday the 8th, sometime around 1900 Zulu. So, listen for us. Maybe we'll be calling for you. Maybe we'll be listening. I don't know how we'll be doing it. We're not sure really how the structure is going to go, but we'll be there one way or the other, operating Whiskey 6 Romeo on Route 66. So be there or something. There's another announcement I wanted to touch on, but I completely forgot what it was. So I don't know. Maybe it was to announce our episode 301 about Pi Star. I don't know.
Might have been that. So anyway, our next episode number 301, is going to be a deep dive, an initial deep dive, a part 1, if you will, into Pi Star. So if you're interested in DMR, Yaesu System Fusion, any kind of digital mode VHF or UHF operation, you definitely want to check it out. It's a great deep dive. But we found that the topic was much too broad and varied to cover in one episode. So we'll be doing basically a series on it. And episode number 301 will be the first in that series. So definitely tune in for that. And along those lines, our LHS Ham Radio challenge for this fortnight will be to take that dive into DMR, Yaesu System Fusion, P25, NXDN, or something in the UHF digital realm, and have fun with it. It's a new technology that I'm exploring. It sounds like Bill's going to try and dive into it, and a lot of our listeners are into it as well. And it's kind of a new world out there. Some folks don't really think of it as real ham radio, but, it's still a thing. So give it a try anyway. It's a lot of fun. So with that, we're going to move on to this weekend in open source and let Bill tell us about a distribution that's been around for a long, long time. Woot, woot, woot. And if you haven't used this particular distribution, I don't know what you've been doing. This used to be in every little IT guy's toolkit as a get out of jail free card for fixing old computers. This is KNOPPIX, and this came into my in my purview here this week because they had a public release of 8.6.0. And I haven't used KNOPPIX in years, but like I said, it used to be a staple. You always had a disk of KNOPPIX laying around. So version 8.6 of KNOPPIX is based on Debian stable or Buster, with some packages from Debian testing, and looks like some unstable packages as well from SID, newer graphics drivers and desktop software packages. It uses the Linux kernel 5.2.5 and Xorg 7.7 Core 1.20.4 for supporting current computer hardware. Kernel patches, it looks like it has CLOOP and it has AUFS. And then it also supports both 32-bit and 64-bit kernels in the same bootloader. So it'll switch back and forth based upon whether you actually have a 64-bit kernel or a processor installed. So this is kind of like a neat little feature. So, the 64-bit version also supports systems with more than 4 gigs of RAM, of course, and chroot the 64-bit installations for system rescue tasks. So the bootloader will start the 64-bit kernel automatically if a 64-bit capable CPU is detected, and if it's not manually specified. So for computers that can only start from CD, not from DVD or USB flash pin, a tiny bootable CD image has been placed in the KNOPPIX folder, which can be burned and used together with a full USB or DVD version in order to start a really old computer. So, if you need the little super tools that is KNOPPIX, or just want to take a look at what the latest version of KNOPPIX looks like, head on over to the Nopper site. Nopper site. And we have, of course, that linked in the show notes.
All right, very good. So moving on from there, we're going to talk about some open source events coming up. We have a couple of interesting ones here that are in the EU, and one that's here in the United States. We have, first of all, ApacheCon, which is coming up from September 9th through the 12th of this year. It's going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you want to go there and have some fun and gamble and maybe learn something, you should check out ApacheCon. Since 1998, before the ASF's incorporation, that would be the Apache something Foundation. ApacheCon has been drawing participants at all levels to explore tomorrow's technology today, quote unquote, across 300 plus Apache projects and their diverse communities. Not only do they have projects, they have their own license. And the source for this you can check out on our show notes. It's at ApacheCon.com. We also have coming up the Cloud Foundry Europe Summit 2019. This is going to be from the 11th through the 12th of 2019 in The Hague, Netherlands. And their description of this is from startups to Fortune 500. Cloud Foundry is used by businesses around the globe to automate, scale, and manage cloud apps throughout their lifecycle. Whether you're a contributor or a committer building the platform, or you're using the platform to attain your business goals, Cloud Foundry Europe Summit is where developers, operators, CIOs, and other IT professionals go to share their best practices and innovations together. Check that out over at Cloud Foundry. Link in the show notes. And finally, we have the Open Networking Summit 2019. This is in Antwerp, Belgium, from September 23rd through the 25th. And they say it's the Open Networking Summit, the industry's premier open networking event, enabling collaborative development and innovation across enterprises, service providers, and cloud providers, and discussing the future of open source networking, including SDN, NFV, VNF, CNF/cloud, native networking, orchestration, automation of cloud core, network, edge, access, and IoT services. And there was a lot of crap in there. So anyway, that is listed over at the linuxfoundation.org events site. Link, of course, will be in the show notes. So if you happen to be in North Central Europe or Las Vegas, check out some of the great open source conferences coming up. And there's lots more where those came from, but those are just some of the highlights. And finally, our Linux in the Ham Shack open source challenge for this week is just like the Amateur Radio Challenge. It's to dive into DMR, Yaesu System Fusion, P25, NXDN, or something in the V/UHF digital world, but do it using PyStar. There you go. That incorporates the amateur radio world and the open source world all together. So moving on from that, we're going to finally get into the really good stuff. And with that, we're going to have Cheryl take over and tell us all about our recipe for this week.
So we have an 80s theme party coming up, and I was trying to think of different things we could serve at said party. And one thing that Russ has mentioned recently, as of several friends, was their love for school cafeteria pizza. And I thought, well, that's probably something we should serve. So I went on a hunt for a recipe. I learned that it is very, very simple to make, which makes sense. And so our party guests will be chowing down on school cafeteria pizza. And it's, as I said, it's a super easy recipe. You need some flour, some dry milk powder, some sugar, some yeast, salt, warm water, vegetable oil, some meat like Italian sausage or ground beef in order to bring it, that whole thing out, some pizza sauce, and some mozzarella cheese. So, and you whip your yeast and flour and stuff together and let it rise a bit out on a sheet pan and bake it for a little bit, and then pull your crust out and put your sauce and stuff on it with your meat, which is all stirred together, and bake it for another 10 or 15 minutes until it's melted and brown. And that's dinner. So
sounds good. I so used to love lunchroom pizza.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
So.
It is terrible, terrible pizza, but you can't help but love it because you basically grew up on it.
Yeah.
And it's not about whether the food is good or not. It's the things that you remember while you're eating it.
Well, and it was the best thing of the school lunchroom foods anyway.
Between the pizza and like the fish sticks or fish sandwiches,
sandwiches and hamburgers.
And yeah, hamburgers for sure. It's when they tried to pull out the crap that like the Salisbury steak, and then what was the stuff that like the mac and cheese lunchroom mac and cheese is just horrible.
Well, because it's government cheese.
Well, apparently government
Even worse.
cheese is what makes the lunchroom pizza so good.
Well, okay. Now there's two different types of government cheese. There is
I thought government cheese was government cheese.
Well,
That's what it was.
Okay, here's what I found in my research. There is the government cheese Velveeta like stuff, and then there is the imitation mozzarella cheese, which apparently is what goes on the pizza. I'm not exactly sure where you'd find imitation mozzarella cheese, so we're gonna go with the real stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the recipe, I don't know, I don't remember if you put it in your recipe, but the recipe for the pizza includes a recipe for making an imitation of government cheese,
Yeah,
because
no, I didn't use this. Yeah.
apparently it's not possible for like regular lay people to obtain government cheese. I'm not even sure it's created anymore. But
Probably not.
but apparently it is part of what makes,
The
80s
pizza, the
lunchroom
pizza.
pizza so
Yeah.
good. So anyway, there is that. So moving on, we're going to hit my drink corner for tonight. And I guess I have sort of a special edition of the drink corner for episode 300. This was sort of impromptu anyway. But a couple of weeks ago, we went up to Kansas City, and in Kansas City, they have a distillery called J. Rieger and Company, and Rieger produces a Kansas City whiskey. So we went there, and they have the sort of contraption set up where they have a barrel hooked to a metal spigot
type thing. Yeah.
and for an extra $5, if you feel so inclined, which I did, you're allowed to work the spigot and pour your own bottle of whiskey out of that barrel. And then you're allowed to take the bottle, apply the labels, the tax stamp, and then sign and date that says the bottle was bottled by you. And I have said bottle here in my hands. We did this on August 14th, and I know this because I signed and dated the bottle. Rieger and Company's Kansas City whiskey is described by them as a blend of straight bourbon whiskey, light corn whiskey, and straight rye whiskey, all aged at least 4 years, as well as a small amount of 15-year-old Oloroso sherry from the Williams and Humbert Bodega in Jerez. Kansas City whiskey is well balanced, smooth, and slightly sweet. It's beautiful when served neat or on the rocks, but also works well in classic bourbon or rye-based cocktails such as the Horsefeather, Manhattan, and Old Fashioned. So I'm just going to drink it neat, of course, because that's how I drink most of my whiskey. The details on this are it is a blend of corn, malted barley, and rye in some unknown ratio. Apparently, this was originally developed in the Prohibition era, and its mash bill is secret. It's bottled at 46% or 92 proof. Of course, it comes from Kansas City, Missouri, and here in the United States. The color of it is a light, slightly reddish amber color. It's a beautiful color, actually. It's a really nice looking bottle of whiskey. And this bottle that I created, I guess if you want to say that, on August 14th, has not been opened yet. So I'm going to open it right now, hopefully close enough to the mic where you can actually hear me open it. Hey, all right. Excellent. So let me pour it into my Glencairn here. It even looks good in the glass. It's a beautiful color. So this is not a bourbon, of course, because it's a blend of whiskeys and some sherry finished whiskey as well. So that's why they call it Kansas City whiskey instead of bourbon. So on the nose, ooh, that's beautiful. Very sweet. So you get fruit like right up front for sure. Like, it's just general berry, like a mix of like blackberry, kind of like if you have a fruit cocktail kind of fruit, that sort of thing. And maybe some tartness as well. Maybe like a cranberry, something like that. But the fruit is very forward. And then you have that sort of wine essence, kind of like a port wine or a sherry wine. And I'm sure that's because there's sherry finished whiskey in here. Then you also have some classic whiskey notes or almost classic bourbon notes like vanilla and caramel. Okay, I shouldn't have tasted it before I finished nosing it, but it smells really good. There's also some like winter spice in here, like the nutmeg, clove, cinnamon kind of thing going on that you would expect from, pies and stuff like that. Anything that's autumn flavored, your pumpkin spice or stuff like that, it's got sort of that essence to it. I did notice from my little initial sip that I just took there that it tastes kind of thin. It's not like watery or something. It's just thin, like the nose is more explosive than the taste of it. So let's get right into the taste then. Let me take another taste of it. Okay, so the sherry is very forward in the sweetness, and there's definitely honey because if you've ever had like a bit of honey or any kind of candy or something that's like a sweetened honey taste, it has a sort of drying effect, at least on my tongue, that I can immediately identify with anything that comes from honey. So the honey is very much there. It's almost like honeycomb, actually. It's followed up by that fruitiness and a light sort of like indescribable sweetness. It's just light, fruity, and sweet. There's the sugar, which is kind of like interacting with the barrel notes, giving you sort of a charred creme brulee, almost like an overdone creme brulee a little bit. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's actually quite tasty on the palate. And then there's some of the classic caramel and vanilla bourbon whiskey notes, and then a little bit of a sort of a bready, sort of that malted barley on the finish, and then some of that fruitiness. It's funny that the sort of spice and the honey are really forward on the taste, but they're really kind of not even there. It's more the fruit on the nose, but the taste is honey, caramel, vanilla, and sort of the oak brulee, if you will. It's not bad. The finish is really long. I mean, I'm still tasting it from that first sip, and it's kind of that honey and maybe like a little nutmeg. It's like honey and nutmeg and like a little peppery kind of like bite on the very end, but it lasts a really long time. So overall, this is not bad. It's very different, and I got to say, I kind of enjoy it. This would be great as a mixer, but I really do like it neat, and it would also be good, I think, for like a fall party. If you had like a pecan pie or a pumpkin pie or something like that, and that was kind of your thing, or even an apple pie, this would be a great, neat, or over the rocks drink to have with that, especially in a dessert setting, because it is on the sweeter side. So I think it's not bad. And a typical bottle is about $30. I think it's like $28 to $30, and they charge you $5 extra if you want to bottle it yourself. But I mean, that $5 was worth it to me. It was fun. Plus, I have a bottle with my name on it. So there you go. As far as rating this, I'm going to give it an 89. I actually really like it. And I think I know exactly what kind of settings I will drink it in, and it will kind of sit on the shelf, for those purposes. It's not going to be like a daily drinker. But I do quite enjoy this. So if you get the opportunity to try it, check out Rieger's Kansas City Whiskey. And that is the end of that. So, Bill, do you have something you want to talk about, beverage-wise?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and mention I was drinking some beer earlier, but I decided to grab one of these out of the fridge. These are my wife's favorites. And it's Not Your Father's Root Beer. And it's from the what was that called again? Small Town Brewery in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And this is
so you start talking about hard root beer, and the dogs are like, screw that, we're going
there. Yeah, they're like, no, not root beer.
Hey, that stuff this is good.
Yeah, this is the 5.9% variety. I guess there is a 10.7. I haven't seen the 10.7 here. But, I mean, it tastes like root beer. Something off on it, It's probably the alcohol portion of it. It's very sweet. That's the only thing I don't like about it. I don't like sweet drinks at all. So, but yeah, it's not bad. I can see why my wife likes these. They're good, sweet.
Yeah, they're good. They're sweet. Yeah, it's like, have you tried any of the hard ciders? Or not hard ciders. Sorry, I mean everybody's had hard cider. Hard seltzers, not cider. And what do you think of those?
I'm a bit mixed but I do like seltzer water, like like LaCroix and stuff like that, or Bublé, or many different brands. I actually like
did you
Costco
used to
brand
drink
one.
the New York seltzer back in the 80s?
No.
Wow. See, I love that stuff. Russ is like,
that's
that's
seltzer
disgusting.
water
Nah.
just has a funk to me. I can't get over. I just can't do anything seltzer.
You don't even like San Pellegrino or anything?
No.
Like that?
No.
He won't drink anything like that.
Oh yeah. So when I go over to Europe, it's I drink bubbly water. That's all I drink. And I actually club soda and stuff like that too, just by itself.
No.
But that's just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you're welcome to it. You can have all the club soda you want.
But yeah, I've tried a lot of those seltzer, spiked seltzer ones, and I just really haven't found one that I really like that much.
We had some friends out a couple of weeks ago. They brought some out, and I don't remember what brand it was, but they had black cherry flavored. And to me, it tasted like warm wine.
Yeah.
Like warm red wine. And I was like, no.
I think the seltzer ones that try, like, at least the alcohol ones, they try too much to actually have too much flavor. And I think that's the whole point of the seltzer water kind of trend, is that it's just barely there.
Right.
Like if you line them all up, you really have to really pick out the notes that tell you that, oh yeah, it's not club soda. It actually has lime in it, or it has, grapefruit in it, or it has, lemon in it. You don't, it's not very strong, but like I've noticed that quite a few of the various seltzer ones are like very strong, like infused or something like that. And, they're not great. In fact, we had a really horrible one here from a local, must be an in-state one that was doing one, and it was like huckleberry, and it was just horrid. It was absolutely horrid. Would not recommend it. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I never liked the Zima either when it came out, and that's kind of like what these kind of remind me of, that are sort of clear with, trying to be like a wine cooler, but not really.
Right.
Sadly, I did like Zima, but that was in my younger days. So.
Ew.
So similar thing. I mean, that's, the very similar kind of thing. But yeah, it's kind of a broad market, and I think everybody's getting into it. And I don't know. I haven't found one I really, really liked enough to buy more than, like a trial pack.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, every once in a while I'll be like, I'll try something different. I don't want a beer or something like that. But yeah. So anyway, I'm doing the root beer tonight. There you go. I've been drinking Shock Tops all day, so I haven't had those in a long time. I was like, oh, yeah, I have to get Shock Tops. And I haven't been impressed with that either, so I'm regretting my purchase. But I got to power through them. So
Scott in the chat room says Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon are wines that he likes, along with craft beers, and he likes gin, whiskey, bourbon once in a while, especially with a cigar. To which I said, awesome.
Absolutely. I got a red wine that my wife just got, and I'll probably be the one that gets to open it because she doesn't drink red wine. That's been like aged in rum barrels.
Oh, that sounds nice.
So yeah, so I'm kind of excited to try. I was going to get it tonight, but I was like, my palate's kind of shot already. So I'll wait for a clear night where I haven't totally, messed up my total taste. But I'm sure it's probably good.
I'm telling you,
I'll do that on a future one.
We still need to get Bill some Joller Creek wine.
Yeah, we're going to do that. So, all right. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up the show. We'd like to mention the folks who are in the chat room and listening to us live tonight, that at least the ones we know about. We had Don KC9ZMY, Don KB2YSI, Dan, just to be different, KF5TQM, Jonas Rulo, Jim VE5EV, and Scott W8UFO. So I want to thank everybody who listened to the show, and we are going to go ahead and wrap up this Weekender edition, episode number 300 of Linux in the Ham Shack. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We hope you have a great fortnight out there and do some fun things over the next 14 days, and we'll do it all again when that time rolls around. In the meantime, take care. We'll see you later. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD 73.
for listening to this episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a community-sponsored podcast. The live show is recorded every Monday night at 8 p.m. Central Time, plus or minus QRL. Connect to the live stream at url.bcts.info/LHS Live. Our website is located at lhspodcast.info. You can support the podcast by visiting the LHS Patreon page at patreon.com/LHS Podcast, or by using the contribute link on the homepage. Get in touch via social media. We have a presence on Discord, Facebook, IRC, Twitter, and YouTube. Our IRC channel is #LHS Podcast on the Freenode network, and the Discord invite link is url.bcts.info/Discord. You can also drop us an email at info@lhspodcast.info or leave us a voicemail at 1-909-LHS-SHOW. That's 1-909-547-7469. Visit the online LHS merchandise store at shop.lhspodcast.info for fun and fashionable show-themed merchandise. Become an ambassador and represent LHS at a local Linux convention or Hamfest. Email ambassadors@lhspodcast.info for more information, or visit the homepage for details. Until next time, remember to always heed your hedonism. Linux in the Ham Shack and the Linux in the Ham Shack logo are released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License.